to another week of the DP World Tour picks and bets. Skylar, Hoke is here. Tom Jacobs, how we doing?
Yeah, good. I'm glad the monstrosity that was the ISPS hander is out of the way. I know you had a couple of chances going through. I was just dead after like 6 holes. Like it was just over for me. So you get those weeks sometimes, Sky. Like it was a little bit of a break. It was a funky event, new golf course on top of Galgorm. Like I'm not too worried. Like it was a hard event to kind of handicap. And whereas this week I feel pretty comfortable with the recipe to success here, and I think it's going to lead to some easier picks. I think
I was pretty frustrated last week too, not just having basically nothing come around Sunday, but I mean, we discussed Daniel Brown, a bit, and ultimately went with Rivetto in what felt was the similar mindset. Hey, you played well overseas when you came over here in the States and performed and kept it rolling a little bit. So disappointing in that fact. I mean, he played outstanding, right? I mean, it was never really a doubt. Our friend RB hits him as a winner, and he was still sweating with a 6-stroke lead at all parts of the weekend. But, the one caveat, too, that I think is really cool with Brown and this year, I think he's the 4th winner this season from Q School. So 4th, if not, maybe even 5. I was looking through it because, obviously Bradbury won. Marcel Seam was through Q School. If you remember, this year, Simon Forsstrom has already won. Daniel Brown. So that's 4 right there. I think we're at 4 or 5 already through Q School. It's the first time we've been back in a while, right?
Yeah, like was Backham through the Challenge Tour rankings? Or was he Q School?
He was Q School too, 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just outstanding, right? From that side of things. It brings me back to the Guido Kitayama year, right? That there's so much talent in golf, and getting status is such a big part of it. So good for Brown. Bad for us on the betting side of things overall. But definitely excited as we tee up here at the Czech Masters, because not only is it an event that I've really loved, going back to the, Albatross Golf Course has been fun because it has brought a specific type of competition every single year. But of course, we're starting to introduce even more so of the Ryder Cup discussion. Leading off, not even just the discussion, but the odds boards in most places is Ludwig Aberg, right? 12-1, 11-1. Him and Lowry co-lead it. It was great to see some of Fitz action on Sunday to build up some momentum. I know you were tweeting this morning. Seems good vibes out of the Euro guys overall. Now, can they patch up these final couple spots with some good performances here? So before diving into the odds boards, we don't even need to really discuss Ryder Cup implications. We know what play. Talk more about the golf course.
Yeah, so I think Albatross Golf Resorts, I think it's called, rather than golf course, but like it's just driver heavy, right? Like you absolutely know that it's a driving golf course. It's almost 7,500 yards past 72, and look, since 2018, the leader in driving distance for the week has finished inside the top 8. So it's a pretty steady stat. Like Gavin Green led the field in 2018, he finished 3rd. A year later, Thomas Peters lead the field and wins. Dean Burmeister and Wilco Neuenhaber were the last 2 to lead the driving distance stats, and they finished 6th and 8th. And then 2019, since strokes gained have been kind of introduced to the DP World Tour, Peters was 4th in strokes gained off the tee. Arnaus finished 2nd behind him and actually led the category. 3 of the top 5 in strokes gained off the tee in 2021 finished inside the top 12, including Crocker, who was 2nd. And then last year, 4 of the top 5 in strokes gained off the tee finished inside the top 8. And the only person that didn't was Perez, who was 3rd in strokes gained off the tee and finished 23rd. So, look, Sky, it's a pretty straightforward formula based on the kind of data that we've got. Of course, you've got a Maximilian Kiefer who won last year that didn't bomb it and didn't gain all those strokes off the tee, but I think that's going to be an anomaly going forward.
It was also 54 holes, and he ripped the heart of every single person on Twitter because we all got Green that week. So give us 18 more, and I'm sure Gavin Green probably would find another way to break our hearts. But
interesting on the Gavin Green thing, just before we go, like I looked and there was loads of correlation with the Maybank Championship, which is in Malaysia. And then obviously you've got Gavin Green, who is a Malaysian golfer. So that's not to be confused with the Malaysian Maybank Malaysian Open. And there's two Maybank, and it's Maybank Championship. But like 3 or 4 golfers that have won or contended here have also played really well at the Maybank. So just look into that. Like I would only use it as like a bonus. I wouldn't use it to make some picks because it's been a long time since we played that event. But yeah, like if you see a golfer that you kind of stuck between 2 golfers, just have a quick check to see if they've ever played well in the Maybank Championship.
Yeah. I think just the things that scream at me is when you see a leaderboard that Tapio Pulkkinen is on, like it's a one line of course, him. And my favorite year of this track was when Hugo Leon finished top 5 when Peters was there. That Hugo courses, Tapio courses, you can just grip and rip ball striking, distance. And I think the conversation we brought up, the South Africa event, the one that Backham won earlier this year. That's the Johnson. No, Johnson was the November one. I'll pull it up as we talk here. But Backham's was one, and that was, we came in without a doubt. That was the line of thinking. Yeah, the Johnson Workwear Open.
Yeah.
That there was no doubt that that's what it was, and that's what it produced. So I think that's another one you can grab some corollary from there. But Tom, we had a big discussion before on Aberg. I'm very tempted by the 12s. I think it's still short. It's scary. I'm okay passing. I'm not going to lose sleep over missing that. But if you talk about the best driver in the field, I mean, Data Golf already has him as a top 6, 5, at least 10 off the tee player in the entire world right now. There couldn't be a better place for him to make a stand and get a W here. Any interest?
No, but I do agree that it is course fit. There's probably not a better course fit than Ludwig Aberg. Like we know he can get although his irons never show up in terms of strokes gain approach, like he does seem to make birdies, right? So it's a hot putter and a hot driver. When I come on to some of the picks later on, that is definitely in my line of thinking. And look, you could argue that the 4 picks I've made are just people that hope to be Ludwig Aberg, right? And he's the youngster in the field. So I just can't get my head around him winning at 12-1 when he knows that if he wins, he's going to be on the Ryder Cup team. I just think there's so much pressure, and I think it's big enough pressure to win at 12-1 as a favourite. These guys probably don't look at betting odds, but they know when they're favourites. They know when they're expected to do well, right? And coming from the PGA Tour, playing incredibly well. But really and truly, Sky, I know he's had these really big spike rounds and stuff, but there's probably only 1 or 2 weeks where he's really put all 4 rounds together so far, which is to be expected. But I don't think there's any real week where we can hang our hat on and say that was the sign that Aberg's ready to win.
Yeah, the one, I agree. I guess winning is a big touch. The one that sticks out to me, I guess of course is too. I guess Rocket Mortgage, and he was there through 18, right? And that was maybe 36. A lot of us bet him there. He was very impressive at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which is a course that does require that type. And this was in the middle of college career, right? College, his last season there when he was ripping off wins left and right. But yeah, you could probably say he's been in pressure situations. Gosh, I feel like picking on him in this situation, but he wasn't very good at the NCAAs, right? At the most important event of the year. And then the other time, and we're only hard in this way, that he said the Scottish Open, he knew that there was implications for him if he was to play well or win and get in the Open Championship, right? And what did he do at the Scottish Open? His only missed cut so far of the year, he could not make a single putt. He's unbelievable off the tee. I really, really do want to bet him. But I think at 12s, I'm okay passing, especially because the other guys up here do have similar type of skills. If you include their approach plus off the tee, it's probably right there with him, right? And they all have things to prove too.
Yeah, I just think for me, it's just that trendy name and for good reason. Because I'm very critical of people. When you hear all this, people pile on these players and say they're going to do the next best thing, and it never really materializes. I don't think that's going to be I think in 2 years' time we'll be talking about Ludwig Aberg as potentially, in the Victor Hovland kind of conversation at some point, right? I think he can do that. I just don't think the foundation that we've got over the last what's he played, recently, 6 events. I don't think 7 events. He finished 25th at the Canadian Open, but he was never in the mix. 24th at the Travellers. He was 10th after the second round, 12th after round 3, and then shot 70 to fall to 24th. When he was 40th at the Rocket Mortgage, to your point, he was second after round 1, third after round 2, went 73, 72. Wyndham Championship, he was 5th going into the weekend, shot 71 on Saturday to fall out of contention, then shot 63 to climb back into 4th. Missed the cut at the Scottish Open, like you said. 64th at the 3M Open, where he opened 72 and shot a 64, and then 73, 72 weekend. And then just a similar story at the Wyndham, like he was 7th after rounds 1 and 2, and then shot a 71 in round 3. Like it just feels like his feet. He's clearly, like, without even watching him or anything, you can just look at the round by round data. Every single time he's got 3rd, 4th, or whatever, he's taken a step back, and you expect that. Like, if he's still doing it in 20, 30 events time, maybe there's a problem. If he does it in 8 events time and he wins, then there is no problem. I just think that at 12 to 1, yes, he's the perfect skill set. And yes, I absolutely think that he can win. And I think that if he does win, he deserves to go to the Ryder Cup. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a fair discussion. And but I guess the pressure and eyes aren't just on him in that manner, right? I still believe Adrian Meronk should have something to prove on a little bit of form. I mean, Bob shows up at the ISPS and misses the cut last week, right? Like, no one's doing themselves all that many favors right now, it feels, on both sides of these rosters at the bottom. So these guys would all benefit from a really, really big week, in that manner. And I think the other discussion as we get up here, neither of us are betting kind of this low on our cards. Adrian Dumont de Chissart is here off the Ferry Tour. Absolute domination. I was more intrigued at him. Quickly bet down from 28s to 20s. 20s makes me double take in that manner. I think, again, I would, at that price difference, I probably would find a way. If I'm gung-ho, I'm betting 1. I'm betting Aberg at 12 over Adrian at 20. But Adrian's game, looking into the logs, isn't built around power. It's built more, it's not even built with, it doesn't feel like that strong of a driver overall. If you look at driving distance, definitely not. Accuracy is fluttering. Irons are exceptional. Putting is even better. So maybe like next week could be a better setup for him, right, as we go to Omega versus here. So I think at that, it's just betting on the talent. Is there that much of a gap? At 28s to 12s, no, I totally agree. But, we record this later on a Monday and factual cards for us. And I think 20s, I'm okay passing.
Yeah, I think with, with that, Dumont de Chissart, like, as much as he's winning on the Corn Ferry Tour, and you can't compare it to what Aberg's had to go up against on the PGA Tour, and, Aberg's led the field off the tee in 3 of his last 7 starts on the PGA Tour, twice 4th. Like, the course fit is definitely better for Aberg. I just think with de Chissart, like, he's in that position where no one expects him to really be on the Ryder Cup team. He doesn't really expect to be on the Ryder Cup team this year. He's already said he wants to be on the next one. And he's got that winning experience, whether it's on the lower level or not. Like, he's got it in recent weeks. So, like, he's kind of freewheeling. Whereas Aberg, I don't think he is. Like, I think he genuinely thinks, like, he needs to win and he needs to get on. And a little bit, McIntyre, the other one you mentioned, like, he's in this really dangerous position, I think, where, like, he's in on points. So he hasn't got to play well to get in. But he's got to have an impressive week before the Ryder Cup starts. Otherwise, he's not going to play. Like, he's going to get in and not play, because if he misses the cut again this week, but somehow still stays in the points, which I think he would, unless someone knocks him out the points and he doesn't get a pick, like, he'd almost, I think, be better off chasing that Ryder Cup pick. I think that would really bring him to life. Whereas I think this time he's kind of like not trying not to do anything too destructive to kind of lose those points. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in McIntyre's position. Like, I actually hope he's on the team. I think to be honest, like, Luke Donald probably just wants him to make the team, so he doesn't want the headache of picking him, because I think Donald's pretty happy with the 8 that are in, like the 6 that are on points and the Rose and the McIntyre, right? Like, I think he's happy with that. I think he just wants one of these, like you said, the Nikolai Højgaards, the Abergs, or whatever, to step up. So, yeah, I think McIntyre's in a bit of a weird position.
Yeah, I can agree with you in that manner. I mean, you just ask a lot of these guys, and winning is this point of the game probably enough for solidifying anything of the name listed. But I think there's more value as we continue on and kind of where we're landing. You're starting off the card with a Frenchman here in the. I think he's in my. Where's your selection landing?
Yeah, so he's in. He was 40 to 1. I think he's coming down into the kind of 35 to 1 mark now. But it's Antoine Rosner, right? And look, I don't necessarily look at Rosner very often and think he's good value, but here I just think he is. Like, he was 13th here last year, and he was 20th last time out of the Open Championship, where he was 4th after round 1 and round 3. Obviously, a poor final round is probably to be expected with Anton Rosner in the Open Championship, right? Like when you're inside the top 5. You'd like to have seen him hold on to that kind of top 10 and really give himself a confidence boost. But he's a 3-time winner already. He's coming back to a course where he led the strokes going tee to green and approach stats last year. Gained over 11 strokes tee to green. He just had a really poor putter week, right? So for someone like Rosner, like who's won 3 times, he was 13th, even with a terrible putter. I'd like to have seen where he'd have got to if he had that final round and could have just caught fire. He could have easily finished kind of 4th, 5th. I think he's one of those. He's not the Wilcos and the Abergs and that off the tee, but he's more reliable in terms of he's got a little bit of accuracy to go with it as well. So I really expect Rosner to be 1, long enough, and 2, dialed in every aspect of his game to go well this week. So I really like Antoine Rosner at 35 to 1.
Yeah, one of the better stories of the Open Championship. I do wish he would have had that Sunday, and it was relatively at a time that he was on nobody's radar, right? I think we just pretty much bypassed him when we on our preview show. So definitely intrigued there. I'm running to our next selection on the board because I think as we speak, that number continues to get lower and lower. You mentioned comparing Ludwig Aberg to somebody else in the field when it comes to off the tee dominance. Well, that person's 4 times the price of Aberg, right? And in really, really good form, right? This is the best golf we've seen out of Wilco Nienaber in a good amount of time, especially when it comes to approach and ball striking. Second, right? He's finished with second here, or he has a top 5 here, right?
He was 8th last year.
Okay.
But
so
he was, but when he again, just to add to that, he was 14th at the halfway mark on debut as well, but finished 51st. So he's made 2 out of 2 cuts and was 8th last year.
Yes. I mean, he was the runaway pick. I mean, I think we were sweating on Sunday the fact that he was chasing Brown and lowering his number every birdie he had. But he came onto our radar. We were pretty early on the Wilco Renaissance when he had that round 2 at the major championship. I think it would have been the PGA, right? I think he got in.
It was, didn't he? Yeah, he started off really hot, didn't he?
Yeah, he had open qualified. Yeah. So yeah, Wilco. For me, when you line up everything that you're saying about the course, everything about his form, the number, first click for me.
Yeah. No, and I think with Nienaber as well, like there's this obvious worry that he doesn't win. But as I just said to you, like, yes, okay, he's more established than Aberg, and you can say, right, he's played 20, 30 events and not done it. He's also 23 years of age, and he's won on the Sunshine Tour, and he's gone close. I feel like his problem is actually not getting in the mix as much as he maybe should, as opposed to actually throwing things away, right? Like I feel like he should get closer more often, and it looks like, to your point, that he's doing that. Like he looks to be more consistent, more steady in recent weeks to really do it. So I just love the fact of how he's played here. He's led the field here in strokes going off the tee twice, and that's all you really need to worry about. Like the rest of his game will come, to your point, it's hitting his irons well. So if you know that the biggest asset that you want is strokes going off the tee, and he's led the field twice here in the 2 times he started it, you're going to be pretty happy.
Yep, absolutely. I do see that BetMGM here in the States did just price up the field. Dumont chart is 25 there. Aberg is 14s. So a little bit more to think when we get into that range. We can settle back at the end of the card if we're going to land, if I'm going to convince myself to bet Ludwig.
To correct my thing slightly, 9Aber was second in off the tee in 2019, but so he's been first and second in strokes gained off the tee here. And yeah, to your point, that does make it more complicated with Aberg. I think it's just one of those ones where I just can't sweat over. I think if he was 20-1, you just have to bet him, right? But I think anything under that, there's just so much risk to it. It depends how you stake things and how you bet, I guess. If you're someone that when a player's under 20-1, you bet a significant amount. I wouldn't want to do that on Aberg at the moment, but I do totally believe that he can win.
So Wilco's best price 55-1 right now. So cool with that for Wilco. All right, moving down the board more. Next selection for us, Tom. It's one we align on again. Is this right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
If Wilco was the surefire click, this guy was 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
I'm going to say still mad. It's been a month, but we were all in at Sean Crocker at the Barracuda, and he should have won.
Yeah.
Looking into it, he shot 74 on Saturday. Anything under par,
he wins.
People don't know that Akshay Bhatia didn't get the points from winning that as a non-member. It would have been Sean Crocker's world. He would have been there with those guys in that type of scoring. So that was incredibly frustrating, but there's still 90s on Crocker over here that I'm incredibly interested in. I mean, sure, if I was triple digits already gone this morning, but Crocker seems like a sure thing for me here.
Yeah, I just, what have we not said about Sean Crocker at this point on this show, Sky? He has just been our guy, and when he shows form, we take it, right? And he didn't play well here last year, but it was 2 weeks or 2 starts after his first win, which I think is all that led to that. It took him a long time to kind of recover. And now you look at it, out of nowhere, he was second at the Scandinavian Masters. I said, is it a false dawn? He finishes 14th for the BMW International Open. Then he goes miscut, withdraw, and you think, okay, maybe that's the end of that little run for Sean Crocker. And then finishes 19th in the PGA Tour field at the Scottish Open and 10th, as you said, at the Barracuda. And now he returns to a golf course where he was second on his debut and was never outside the top 3 all week. Actually had a chance to win it going down the stretch, didn't. Ball striking was great in Scotland, which is kind of the most recent numbers we've got. And when he was second here in 2021, he was 4th in strokes gained off the tee, 1st in approach and 1st in tee to green. So a little bit like what I said about kind of 9Aber, you've got what you want and you've seen him do it on this golf course. And I do think, I've got away from course form a little bit in recent months, just trying not to put too much into it. But I think a golf course that requires a definitive strategy for every single golfer in the field, why not take the people that have proven they can do it at this very golf course?
Yeah, so his greens and regulation wasn't great at the Barracuda. 3rd in distance in that field. Scottish that you mentioned was incredibly impressive after that withdrawal. So, I couldn't be more excited about Crocker for this type of week. We've been waiting on it since we started the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess he got the win, right? He did win the event. But man, he hasn't sustained the level that we want him to.
I'm pretty sure when he won, that was a week that either me or both of us were on Eddie Pepperell as well. And didn't he go toe to didn't he hold him off? And the one time I didn't want Sean Crocker to win happened to be the week that he did. Look, I don't think there's a behind 9Aber and Aberg and that. Is there much of a better course fit than Sean Crocker? And there certainly isn't at kind of 80s and above.
We keep saying, of course, for Aberg. I think by the end of this show, I'm in on the 14s. I think I'm there.
You can do it. It's just, I'd be really happy for you and him. I want him to. What I want these golfers to do, and a little bit I was really down on Matt Fitzpatrick last week, and it was so good to see that I was wrong. It was so good to see that he found it at the BMW Championship. He thinks he would have won if it wasn't for Hovland. Obviously, it wouldn't because Scheffler would have won, right? But it's great, and I would love for everyone to go, Tom, you were wrong about Aberg. He's never going to be 12-1 again on DP World Tour. That'd be fine. because it means that we've got a great guy for the European Ryder Cup team in a few weeks' time. But yeah, absolutely. To reaffirm the point, I just think Crocker's a fantastic course fit. He's great odds, double the price of some players that I wouldn't go anywhere near, and I think it's a good time to go.
So 80s now here in the States. So it didn't matter. 66s, I would still be in on Crocker.
Yeah.
So we're aligned on Wilco. We're aligned on Crocker. Now, I guess they were triple digits as we spoke initially, but we've seen some cuts overall. How deep is your guy? He's a little bit down the board, right?
Mine's triple digits still. Yeah.
So I'll go next. Yeah, so we got 3 left, all triple digits still. Okay, so Matty Schmidt. Matty Schmidt is somebody who we thought the world of in this same type of leaps to DP World Tour, from a great college career to the PGA Tour. And PGA really hasn't been too much of a success for him at all. I think that's, safely can say that. But every single week in and week out, he's up there in distance. He, especially as of late, a 22nd at the Wyndham, a 20th at the 3M, both courses that were more accuracy driven than distance driven. Him playing well there really popped to me. And then as we look at, when he has come over here, right, 4th at that South African Open Championship, a 21st at the KLM, 18th at the BMW International, he's just, I think, in a class above the middle of this odds board. He's a holding PGA Tour card member, right? Not that it was a good season, but I just think overall he's somebody that, one, on top of the distance angle that we look at, he's just more caliber than a lot of the other guys around here, and still looking to, break through in that way. But at 100-1, trending form, course fit, I love it for Matty Schmidt.
So I think this reaffirms my point earlier on Aberg. Like, who would have thought that Schmid would have got to 2023 without winning on the DP World Tour, right? Like, and he was the amateur, the low amateur at the Open Championship. He then finishes 19th, 9th, 2nd, 9th, 11th in his first 4 or 5 starts on the DP World Tour. Gets the PGA Tour card, finishes 3rd when he comes back over for the South African event, 9th again, and then finishes 8th and 9th in PGA and Corn Ferry Fields. And to your point, like, he struggled a little bit this year, but like, he fits in the same way that Aberg fits. Like, they're the same mold. And if there's really, I don't know how much of a talent discrepancy there is between the two. Obviously, Aberg is slightly higher stock in terms of he's been up there in those amateur rankings, whereas we kind of had to learn about Schmid, right? But like, I still think there's not that much of a gap in terms of talent between these guys. And sometimes it just comes to the fore. So yeah, a positive for Schmid, and maybe I think a slight negative for Aberg.
Yeah. I can understand the line. He was that type. I don't think his college career was to the manner. It's just the thing that's just selling me is, and maybe it's the more and more guys that we'll see. But the off the tee excellence here, like if Aldridge Potgeier was playing in this event, for example, right, the young South African who's made some starts, who has led every single field he's basically been in distance, right, aced a par 4 in a Monday qualifier, like, I would be running to bet that. These kids are unbelievable when it comes to some of this off the tee prowess. So to see him among those ranks, it's just so.
I don't know that there's a course that correlates as well to driving distance as a stat. Like, I know we always talk about people being long off the tee and strokes gained off the tee, which normally requires a lot of accuracy. I don't think we've seen a course that correlates driving distance to success as much as this does. Like 2018, Gavin Green leads driving distance, finishes 3rd. Guerrier 2nd, finishes 9th. Krojcevic 3rd, finishes 7th. Peters wins after leading the field. Burmeister 6th after leading the field. And then last year, Ninehaber leads the field in driving distance, finishes 8th. Gavin Green 2nd and finishes 2nd. Jake McLeod 3rd in driving distance, 6th overall. Louis Diego 4th in driving distance, 3rd overall. Like, it's not always going to work. You're going to get the Maximilian keepers and things like that, and you probably should keep someone that's really deadly accurate on your card. But like, I think it's just so clear, and that's why you attack these players.
Yeah. All right. We'll flip flop to you then for the next one because he came up on your list of guys there.
Yeah. Louis Diego. I thought you'd be on him, Sky. Like you kind of spoken about him a lot this year. Third here last year, third in driving distance, fourth in strokes gained off the tee. And what I really loved, he was second in strokes gained putting that week as well. So you could say like his irons have let him down, right? And that's fine. But he was also third with, the event gets called at 54 holes. You don't know what would have happened in that final round. And it feels like he's elevated himself a little bit over the last couple of seasons. He's a 5-time winner on the Sunshine Tour. He hasn't won at this level yet, but it just feels like he has actually got it now. It looks like he can win. He's 36 years old. He's not a young buck like our list has been populated with, but top 10 in the field in driving distance this year on the DP World Tour. I don't know that there's a better golf course left for Louis Diego this year. And outside of Africa, he's never finished higher. He's never finished higher than this third here. And I think that to that point, and when you look at the kind of current form, and yeah, you could argue that he's tailing off a little bit with 2 missed cuts. I'm not too worried about last week. It was a really strange event after a tough week off. The other one was the Barracuda Championship. We have no idea whether that would fit or not. He was 5th at the halfway stage at the Barbasol Championship, finished 16th. He was 62nd at Himmerland, fine, disappointing. Miscut the British Masters, not too worried about. It's a really difficult event. And then the Scandinavian mix, he was 3rd after round 1, 13th after round 3 with a 76 in round 2, and then finished 12th. So the upside of Louis Diego is just unbelievable driving, hot putting, and perfect recipe success. I think this is why I'm just littering this kind of area of the board, because I just think that the driving can be found in other places.
Yeah, I think you're making a compelling point. I keep flip-flopping in my head here, Tom. Well, you got to wrap it up or else I'm just never going to make a decision. 2 more that I'm confirmed on here. Dan Bradbury. I love Dan Bradbury. I think as rewarding as the research is, for him to come through in that first start after our big preview show, that's one of my favorite things that we've done in the podcast, right? Is finding a diamond in a rough like that, and to have a career year, which includes a win in your first ever start like that. That's the kind of stuff that I do this for, and when you look at him overall, I mean, I would say it's been a stellar of a year, right? Maybe not to what we thought he could kick on to, especially because he went from winning that to not missing a cut for another 6 starts. But then he fell off the map a little bit when it came to, I guess, consistency in a manner. But, he popped back on at the Soudal Open. If you do remember, Ringfin is a type of course where it was just absolute bombs away is the way we've attacked it previously. So that's where he had a top 10. And then his finishes probably aren't looking to what it was. 75th at the Scottish, missed cut at the Open Championship. But in that manner, his irons have never been, I guess he had at the Soudal, they were really good. Joburg, we don't know. But his irons were exceptional at the Open Championship. And at the Scottish Open, although the 75th place finish, he did find himself just kind of puttering around the middle of the odds board or leaderboard throughout. I think he was 30th at the halfway point. He just found himself, to me, I was on him that week because we had shown he had a really strong finishing 54 at the British Masters that kept him on my radar. And I was steadily impressed by his Scottish and then Open Championship, even though it shows nothing when it comes to leaderboard. So to me, when you get out to this range, somebody that we have seen win, somebody that really does excel when the driver is taken out, hit a bunch. I love Bradbury this week overall. You can find him triple digits as well. So to me, it just kind of fits those boxes in which we're looking into.
Yeah, look, it is that. Like, if you look at his off the tee, like when he makes the cut, he's been great. Like, he is right up there with everybody. 15th, 5th, 29th, 7th, and 4th in strokes gained off the tee. I've got him as the 6th best strokes gained off the tee player over the last 15 weeks. Aberg is first. Henny Duplessis, interestingly, was second, who I thought was worth a second look.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Nicholas Norgard, Moller, 9 Aber, exactly like the people that you kind of expect to be out there, right? So, the fact that he fits in those kind of mold of players is a really promising sign.
Yeah, 140s is the longest for Radberry right now too.
Yeah,
definitely was excited there. One more for me. Anything else for you?
I would just look at Nick Backham. Like it's been a long time.
I looked at it like it's bad.
Yeah, he's been bad, but like you've mentioned the Sadao Open, and that was one of 2 made cuts he's made over his last 7 events, and he was 59th that week, but he was actually 18th after round 1, 19th after round 2, and when he was 35th at Himmerland, he was 3rd after round 1. So maybe just back him for a fast start because he can just spray it everywhere, and maybe he doesn't build anything else other than that. Like maybe just put him in that first round leader market. Maybe put him in your DraftKings lineups because he can make a bunch of birdies against bogeys. But I think he's the type. You just look for these type of players to make an impact. I think Backham's worth a look. But otherwise, not really. Like I do respect the top of the market as much as I haven't gone there. Like I think there's 4 or 5 players that really are people you need to consider. Rivetto is showing decent signs off the tee. Del Rey, we obviously know, has got off the tee prowess.
Yeah, he was the other I'm going to bring up because he's right there with distance, right? If you look at pure distance, like Del Rey, pound for pound, might be the longest guy in the world too.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think we've mentioned it before. Like there are these weeks where you just go for this kind of style fit, right? And that's where you just kind of focus on this week. And I think if you can get the right one, you'll like John Winco is a great driver of the golf ball and not much else. Like sometimes these players fit these types of weeks.
I'm trying to think. So you caught my eye there with the Sudal and the Himmerland jumps for Backham, which were out of nowhere. Yeah. How bad was his Scottish in both rounds? He 73, 75, realistically.
Yeah, like never good. But like even the British Masters, it was 8th after round 1 and just shot a 77 on a really tough course, which suggests to me that he like sprayed it around in that first round, made birdies, and then just got caught out on the second day. Like. Whereas I don't think he'll get caught out this time.
Odds for Backham. What are they overseas right now?
Nick Backham, biggest odds are...
He's 200 here.
Yeah, 200 is the biggest, 175 generally available. Obviously, we get each ways over here, so slightly different. But yeah, 200.
One book that does each ways over here, top 6 too.
Yeah, so yeah, 175, 200 is one. I think just course
like than Del Rey or the other guys.
Only because he's won. Like he can win.
He's won everywhere too, right?
Yeah. So you've got that. Angel Hidalgo hit the ball really well, really well last week.
Off the tee especially.
Yeah. So another one, but it's just with like Hidalgo is not so much you can hang your hat on it happening every week. It's kind of a spike thing. Whereas these other guys we're mentioning off the tee are great every week.
We were betting Mikhail Lindbergh, I feel like was kind of a sneaky sleeper leading.
Big driver again. Yeah.
Yeah. Big driver, kind of fell off. Freddie Scott also is somebody that might be the one to me. Scott has been really strong when it comes to distance, and we loved him overall. I think that might be where. So I'll have 2 selections left.
Sure.
One that I had you on an absolute tee for. I thought for sure you were going to be on Alexander Levy, just because you did such a good sell job to me at the Buddha. And he came out guns a-blazing. I was so mad I didn't jump on him at the CUDA. He came out strong. So we've now got 6 cuts in a row for Alexander Levy. When's the last time you think he's made 6 cuts in a row?
I mean, he didn't even play 6 events in 2022, so it wasn't then. He did do it in 2021, but like he made quite a few cuts in a row actually. But like, it's 2021 is the answer.
Yeah, but even before then, it was like a long stretch. I don't know. He's just upticking everything, I feel like, when it comes to what you're looking for. And like we've seen his aggressive driving nature. I mean, he can be long off the tee. He drove it pretty well at the Barracuda overall. And at the Barbasol, I thought he was pretty ball striking driven there. So he's the first one for me. You can find him 200s over here overall. So he's won, 200s, 175 with each ways. I thought you might go back to your favorite Ross Fisher but that's not there. But we'll close out with Freddie Scott. I think that like type of golfer where I feel like we've been betting for a while pops. He comes and plays those two big events. Do you have much expectation? Honestly, no. And I bet Scott the Barbasol, believe he was 4 under through 16 on Thursday, like creeping around it. And then he just could not keep it out of the water.
No,
and even for that day.
And that happens at these golf courses, right? This is what we're talking about, like risk reward. Like sometimes there is just a massive risk in playing these players at like British Masters and Barbasols and stuff, where it's not just water, it's trees and things like that. 10th at the Himalayan, 12th last time out, Scott. Yes, he's missed 2 cuts when he's gone over to America. Not so worried. 14th at the Porsche European Open, tough driving golf course. So I don't hate the Scott shout at all. Do I have high expectations? No, but I don't have high expectations of Alexander Levy, but I still like both of them. They're 200 to 1 shots who fit the mold. And that is ultimately what matters. Like, as I said to you, Sky, at the start of this, like, I've never seen an event correlate so much with just driving distance. Like, I get big hitters and drive like off the tee and tee to green, but just actual pure distance, I think this is an anomaly in terms of just you can just be big hitters and just do well for that only reason. So I think I was really surprised, Scott. You talk about teeing me up for Alexander Levy. How have you not gone with Pedro Figueiredo after he's off the tee antics last week?
Yeah, but he's also like that doesn't come from anywhere. Just Tom, I've started to get back into the game of golf.
Yeah.
I hit it longer than Pedro and not clear in 200, man. I hit driver for the first time yesterday in 5 years. I've been terrible.
To be fair, he is like minus 47.2 on distance at the
Wind
Porsche.
is in my face too, Tom, and I still think I would have gotten Pedro.
Yeah, okay.
I love the guy.
There's a reason he's 1,000 to 1 because he doesn't drive it that straight normally, and he's not actually long either.
He was all over that leaderboard, man. He had a chance to top 10 that and had a bad Sunday. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Kranz, if we see some Pedro life, maybe that's that can be it. Because Kranz, he can at least add some elevation. Maybe add a couple more yards for him.
Yeah. Good points. I think the other one really for me, and this is just a course fit. He's not the driving distance guy, but Lee Slattery is just so good at this course. And he's been really solid. Nothing spectacular, and it's been more at a challenge tour level, but at this golf course, 30th, 34th, miscut, 2nd, 4th, 39th, 45th, 13th. 13th in 2022 against these long drivers is impressive for Lee Slattery. So for someone who's similar to what you're saying about Alexander Levy, like he's actually made 6 cuts in a row, and it started with a second on the challenge tour. I think he could be in the mix as well. But he's not that course fit that we've targeted this week. Yeah.
Very fair. Okay, if we keep going, Tom, we're gonna. I scoured the earth for like these amateur guys to find anything with distance. I didn't find any.
No, I leave that down to you as well because you will find it, and I can just tail. But I think we've covered the board. I think look, we've given ultimately. Sky, I think that the most important thing about these shows, and the thing that I always say is, and it's is it a little bit of a cop out because you can't win every week? Yes, but the ultimate thing for me is if we can identify what you need to find a winner, you can go and make your own mind up, make your own judgment. You don't believe that Freddie Scott is a guy that don't then just go and find someone that has the same sort of stats as Freddie Scott and pick that guy, right? Like we've given you that it's driving distance and it's off the tee. If you can find that in a player, you can find any kind of course form, any kind of current form, put it in.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before we review, make sure we give a shout out to our audio listeners. You can find us, Mayo Media Network, Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets the Mix, available on all different podcast formats. Rate, review, subscribe. YouTube, again, Mayo Media Network there. We love getting the feedback, the comments. It was great to be back last week. And again, this is the ramp up time for Ryder Cup and for our team kind of getting into some form here. And it comes with hopefully a big week from a lot of them behind the guys on our betting card, because I'm officially not going to bet Ludwig Aberg. I'm okay leaving him off, Tom, because Freddie Scott stole my heart there. I'm like, okay.
I think I'd rather just enjoy Aberg winning rather than worrying about like.
Same with like Dumont Shark, because the 25s is intriguing, right? And then Axis and RB and a few guys are Brad are betting Duchesne. I get it, 100% get it. But instead, we can just load up on those triple-digit guys. It feels so much better.
Yeah, we can just go for the losers. It just makes more sense.
Hey, and each way pays more than that, Tom.
Exactly. That's it.
So, cool. All right, you go first.
Yeah, so Antoine Rosner for me at 35-1. I believe Wilco Nine's best price is 50-1 now. Sean Crocker, you said there's an 80-1, and there's 110-1 on Louis Diego. And then go back and listen to the kind of plethora of people I said that are worth looking at.
Yep. So there looks to be a 55. Yep, on Wilco right now. So that's an awesome, and that's with an each way here in the States.
Nice.
Crocker, you can find him at 80-1. So it's Wilco Nienaber 55, Sean Crocker 80, Matty Schmid, he's available at 100-1, and then Daniel Bradbury 140-1, Alexander Levy at 200-1, and then Freddie Scott is rounding out. We have a 250 on Scott here, and that's with the each way too. So some exciting stuff on the board, just absolutely driver heavy this week for us. And again, if you want the big stretch of golf that is coming in DP World Tour, this is the start of it, because there's a lot of fun to be had between now and the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's important to note, we don't want to talk too much about Ryder Cup right until Ryder Cup comes around, but this week and next week are the final 2 weeks before Luke Donald makes his picks. So Luke Donald makes his picks before the Irish Open and Wentworth. So yes, people can use those events to impress before the Ryder Cup, but they will not get a pick based on that. So these next 2 weeks are key for these guys on the bubble.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Awesome. Well, we appreciate all you guys. And let's hit a big one this week as we go in. And Tom and I are still trying to gain our Ryder Cup status too. So a big win here for us would go a long way in making it on the team.
Absolutely. That's what we want.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Catch you next week.